Hello, good afternoon, students. Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Good afternoon.
Okay, so let us start. I think this is your seventh or eighth EVS lecture, I suppose. So today our topic is regarding water pollution. And one small topic along with this water pollution will be role of an individual in how to prevent pollution at our own level. So these will be the contents. First, we'll see just a line what is the definition of pollution, and then different types. And we focus on water pollution, its causes, effects, and how it can be prevented. So, the definition of pollution is like this: it is undesirable changes that happen due to the actions by plants, animals, or human beings. So, any undesirable change to the surrounding which can affect any of these living beings is termed as pollution. And the different types of pollution you are very well aware of. They are air pollution, water, soil, marine, noise, thermal pollution, and also nuclear hazards are coming under the topic pollution because they are very small in amount but they magnify the amount of pollution they cause. So we are taking only the second point, that is water pollution. So moving ahead with our topic, it's a very beautiful quote given by John Todd. In the entire universe, when you look at the dark space, our planet glows like a very soft blue sapphire because of the presence of water in it. And we are the ones who are responsible to keep that beauty of our earth, Mother Earth, by preventing the pollutions at our own levels how much we can. So in the earth, 71% water is available, but all of it is not able to be consumed. Out of this 71% of water present on earth, 97% is present in the oceans and seas in the form of saline water, which cannot be consumed directly. The remaining 3% is the fresh water, and all those 3% is also not available to us so readily because some of them are trapped in the glaciers, ice caps. Only zero point 0.3 or to 1% it is available in the form of surface water and groundwater. So this shows the importance that why we should conserve the natural resource that is of water, and without water there will be no life on earth. So this makes water a very important component in our lives. Now specifically talking about water pollution, when the quality or composition of water changes, now directly or indirectly, because of man's activities, such that it becomes unfit for any purpose, is said to be water pollution. And the sources because of which the water pollution happens is broadly divided into two types. First one is point sources, and the second is non point. So, from the name, it is clear point sources means the sources which can be identified readily. One example is they're given discharge pipes. Some other examples, if you think, like factories or any leakages from sewage treatment plants. So any point source which can be easily identified comes under point sources. Now, what are non-point sources? They cannot be identified because many a times it is not from a single source. For example, if you consider a runoff from the agricultural fields, so it is not from a particular place, it includes a large area, so it cannot be identified or pointed out that this particular is the source. Other example is when rain happens, especially in the developed city areas. All the surfaces are hard surface, like everything is cemented or tiled. So every other material or every other pollutant present on the surface washes off along with the rainwater. So such sources are said to be non-point sources. So we'll be seeing some few of the sources of pollution, or rather we can say causes of pollution. So these are some of them. We'll be going one by one with these points. So first, talking about industrial waste, which is a major source for water pollution. So various industries are there. First, here we can see steel and paper industries. They dispose of what kind of effluents containing acids, alkalis, dyes, and many other chemicals into the rivers. Aluminum industries release a large amount of fluoride through their emissions into these water bodies. And the industries which produce fertilizers, they generate a large amount of ammonia. So these are the various pollutants being disposed of by the industries causing water pollution. Sewage and wastewater. Now, sewage and wastewater, if they are treated properly and if the treatment plants are installed at proper places, then the pollution can be reduced. But sadly, everywhere it is not present. So, these waters, when they are treated using chemicals and they are released into the sea along with the fresh water, leading to contamination. And they carry even pathogens, which are organisms which cause diseases to the host body where it is present. And these is a typical water pollutant along with other bacteria which cause serious health issues. Next is mining activities. I hope you know what is mining. Mining is a process where extraction takes place from the ore. So it is a process of crushing the rock and extracting coal or any other minerals from the underground. So during the process of extraction, when these ores are present in raw form, they contain many harmful chemicals. And one of the major is sulfides. And when these sulfides mix with the water, they form sulfuric acid, which creates pH imbalance in the water. So mining activities are also a major cause for water pollution. Coming to marine dumping. Now, what is marine dumping? It is a deliberate action by disposing the waste and other materials into the sea. So, marine dumping is also a cause for water pollution. And the degradation time taken for different pollutants present ranges from weeks to years. So, if you take an example of a paper or cardboard, it takes certain weeks to degrade, whereas the plastic takes many years, hundreds of years to degrade. So, marine dumping is again a serious issue of water pollution. Coming to accidental oil leakage. Now, if you have noticed, when rainy season comes on the roads, when the water flow down through the slopes, you see the water with a film of oil on it. These are small contributions from the individuals when wherever they keep their vehicles, a small slight amount of oil leakage from their own vehicles, and it remains on the surface. And when rain happens, this all is carried out to the different water bodies, leading to a oil film forming on the surface of water, which cuts off the oxygen supply to the aquatic animals living inside. And also, oil leakage happens when the oil exploration is done at the offshore. It also leads to leakage and which causes water pollution. Next is chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So this cannot be avoided completely, but we can always encourage organic farming so that these type of fertilizers can be reduced in the usage, because these contains the nitrogens and phosphorus, which again causes harm to the aquatic animals and plants growing up in the water bodies. And main damage it causes to the water table. Now, what is water table? It is the level of water present under the ground. These fertilizers, they leach through the soil into the water table, and the water is contaminated. So the wells or the underground borings that we do for our individual requirements for water at our houses, we will be getting the contaminated water because of the use of fertilizers and pesticides. So we should prefer organic fertilizers, or we should prefer organic farming in order to reduce the usage of these. Coming to radioactive waste. Now, nuclear energy is a great benefit, but if it is used very carefully and properly, then only it provides the benefits of nuclear energy. And if it has been used, then it should be disposed properly, because radioactive waste, they keep on decaying, for a long period of time. There's a term known as half life for a radioactive element. Half life means the time required to reduce to its half. So some radioactive elements have a very short half life, so they decay soon. But the ones which have a very long half life period, which in terms of years, they emit radiations for a very long period of time. The one very common example, which is a radioactive element, that is uranium. Uranium has two different isotopes, 238, 234, and 235. These are the atomic weights, and all the isotopes of uranium are radioactive. So, nuclear waste, if it is not disposed of properly, it creates a very serious environmental hazard. Next is landfills. Now, what are landfills? Landfills are very massive pile of garbage. Now, garbages nowadays are being collected from our houses. But do you think that they just vanish off, they take to some place and it vanishes? Or it is not like that. They have a place selected away from the residential area, and where they dump off, and this collecting of garbage takes place. So the landfills, again, it is possible that leakages can happen from these landfills, and the pollutants can leach through the surface of the earth into the water table again. So landfills are a pile of garbage, but they also lead to underground water pollution. And the garbage contains a variety of contaminants, so we cannot imagine or guess that this particular contaminant will be leading to the pollution. Coming to urban development. So everybody likes the development happening, but the side effects are most of the time ignored. So urban development is happening. It is like either you urbanize or you perish. So to be in the competition, we need to become a developed country or developed city, or becoming in a, nowadays we say metro cities. So urban development required once because population is growing, so the demand or the requirement is also increasing for houses, food, and the variables, etc. But the side effects should not be ignored. So we need to take humans and the nature side by side. We cannot concentrate only on one, it will cause harm to the other one. So the population increase has led to increase in the demand of food, housing, and clothes. And to increase or to meet this demand, the production increases. So by organic farming, people go for the shortcuts like using fertilizers or using hybrid seeds. They can generate more amount of crop production as possible. So they prefer that way, but it leads to pollution. Due to deforestation, erosion takes place, because if you want houses, you need land. And when the population increases, houses increases, the garbage quantity also increases, which leads to again increased landfills. So urban development is another cause for water pollution. Next is eutrophication. Now, what is eutrophication? Now, when the level of nutrients in water bodies increase, it leads to eutrophication. Now, you may think कि nutrient increase हो रहा है, तो why it is a negative point? But there's a limit for the requirement of nutrients in the water bodies. If that limit increases, not everything is not, good in a limit. If you think something is good and it can be have in excess, it is not possible. So nutrient level also should be maintained in water bodies. When the level of nutrients increase, it leads to eutrophication. Now what is this eutrophication? Now the organisms, they always try to decompose the organic matter present in the water bodies. And when they try to decompose this organic matter, they also consume oxygen. Now, more is the amount of organic matter present in water, more amount of oxygen will be consumed in order to decompose it. It results to decrease in the dissolved oxygen present in the water, and it affects the aquatic animals present in the water bodies. And the ones which are anaerobic, that means which do not need oxygen to survive, such type of life increases in the water bodies, and that again is not good for the food chain or the aquatic life in the water bodies. This is in short a summary of the causes that we discussed in a pictorial form. So in this picture, it is mainly discussing about surface and groundwater, how they are being polluted. So here we have the oil spillage, urban development, agriculture pollution, the industrial waste, eutrophication, and the landfill pollutions. It's in short a summary of what we discussed just now. The causes we saw. Now, what are the effects? The once the pollution has happened, how does it affect? So, first few points are regarding the human health, the effect on the human health due to the pollution. So, when the fluoride in water increases due to the pollutants or the contamination, fluoride is also good in a limit for the human body, because it protects from dental caries and weakening of bones. But once the fluoride level is in excess, and especially it is dangerous in the first few years of a human life, that means to the children. So it leads to a condition known as fluorosis. Fluorosis is a condition which happens to the teeth. So excess amount of fluoride present in water leads to fluorosis. Arsenic is again another element. We can say it is a heavy metal. It is also highly dangerous to human health because it leads to lungs and bladder cancer when the amount is present above a limit. Lead is again a metal. It affects the central nervous system and kidneys, especially children and pregnant women are mostly prone to lead exposure. So, all these contaminants and pollutants, especially from the industrial part, they contaminate the water with heavy metals. And the metals are very harmful to the body when they are present in a higher amount. Mercury, in the similar way, causes chromosomal aberration, that means variation in chromosomes in the body, and also neurological damages to human beings. Now, microorganisms they play a very important role in the quality of water. Janvi, please put off your mic now. Yeah, so microorganisms play a very major role in water quality. But again, as I said, pathogens are very important component in water, and they are again, some of them are disease causing. And if they are present in the water that we consume, they lead to various conditions such as typhoid, diarrhea, cholera, etc. Now, as I said, due to the effluents from the industries or other sources, the pH of the water is very important. And as you know, that pH of water is neutral. Now, what is pH? pH is a scale used to measure whether the water is acid. So, pH of water is expected near to be 7. But if the pH of water is lowered due to, for example, if acid rain, we talk about acid rain is a result of air pollution, but still it leads to water pollution also. So, acidification of water bodies again leads to danger to aquatic life as well as for the human beings. Now, this I was talking about dissolved oxygen during the topic of eutrophication. So, eutrophication leads to reduction in the dissolved oxygen present in the water bodies. Now, this term, biological oxygen demand, that is related to dissolved oxygen. Now, how it is? Now, what is BOD? BOD is the amount of oxygen required to decompose the organic matter present in water. Now, as this demand increases, the oxygen present in the water is being consumed continuously and the demand of oxygen increases. When water is fresh and it is unpolluted, the oxygen demand is 1 mg per liter. Whereas in terms of polluted water, it is goes more than 400 mg per liter. So biological oxygen demand also increases when water pollution happens. Lack of potable water. Now, what is potable water? Potable water is nothing but drinkable water, water used for drinking. So, if the pollution increases in this manner, we will have a very less amount of water available for drinking. So, pollution leads to lack of potable water. Then, contamination of the food chain. Now, food chain, as you know, it goes from primary, secondary consumers. So, one of these elements in the food chain, if it is contaminated, and the contamination goes on increasing as we move higher in the food chain. So contamination in the food chain is also a effect of water pollution. Now, only about water pollution we'll see few points how it can be prevented, and then we'll move to the second and a short topic about role of an individual. So in order to prevent water pollution, industries should have effluent treatment plan attached to them. to some extent, at least, they can control the amount of contaminants released to the water bodies. And all these treated waters, instead of releasing all of them to the water bodies, if possible, they should be used for gardening purposes, depending on what composition of the water is. Or it can be used for cooling purposes where the reactors are there in the industries. Strict regulations should be there in order to control the industrial wastewater, and also there should be a limit being imposed to the limit of groundwater being extracted. And there should be incentives for using the wastewater which is recycled. So in these three ways, we can encourage the treatment of wastewater and using it for other purposes rather than disposing it off. Then organic methods of farming should be encouraged in place of using fertilizers and pesticides for the farming purpose. Now, sewage treatment plants should be set up in every town and city in order to treat the sewage effluents. Water harvesting of rainwater should be practiced, which prevents the depletion of water table. Water table is continuously going on reducing as we are moving ahead, and this is happening because of lack of water harvesting. The importance of water and pollution prevention should be included in our education program, and the awareness program should be conducted. Now, as students, you might be coming across these topics as it is a part of your syllabus, but not every person is coming to know about what are the different measures they can take at individual level in order to control the pollution. So it should be included in the education program, as well as awareness programs should be conducted. Then religious practices which leads to contamination should be avoided or discouraged. So that was all about water pollution, what are the causes, what are the some of its effects, and some points how it can be prevented. Now coming to the second topic of today, that is role of an individual in how to prevent pollution. Now pollution prevention is basically depending on how to reduce the source from where the pollution is happening and to eliminate the creation of pollutants. Basically, waste production is increasing where there is inefficiency. So, if there is an industry, if they are using certain raw materials, they should be also treating the end products that is being generated by them. Then only we can mention it to be efficient. 100% efficiency is not possible, but still, till 95% efficiency should be tried to attain so that the waste production is reduced. These terms, when we say recycling, treatment of waste, and disposal, these terms doesn't come under the definition of prevention, because prevention is something which should be done before it happens, not after it happens. What can be done with the waste material or how we can dispose it? So prevention word itself is before happening, how we can prevent it. At individual levels also, we can undertake a wide range of activities which can offer some benefits to the environment as well as to the economy. We can do that by changing our perspectives or changing the way we use certain products or the way we use the resources. I mean, we carelessly use the resources without thinking that they are getting over day by day. And when we do this means when we change our perspectives towards how we use different things, we not only prevent pollution, we can also save the money we earn. Why should we prevent? If you think only about yourself, you can say, why should we prevent? What is the benefit? So ultimately, you will be benefited only if you prevent pollution. There's no harm in doing it. It will preserve the diversity. It will help in the replenishment of the natural resources. So we should always do it rather than thinking, why should I? So, what can we do at our own levels? It may appear silly, it may appear very small, but if you do that much, also it makes a change. So, firstly, we will see how we can use water efficiently. So, again, I mentioned you may feel it silly, but many of you may be not bothering about these things. When you are at home or when you are at workplace, you should think of this, especially when we are talking about water. Since it is very easily available to us, we don't bother that how much of it is being wasted or how we are using it. Simple examples are being shown. When you use water, when you brush your teeth, try to use minimum amount of water, and don't do any action that may deliberately cause any undesirable changes to the environment. Then you can plant trees and shrubs, but it is not that for a plantation drive you are planting the trees or shrubs and then forgetting about them. You can take an example in our college itself. We had a plantation drive, and each plant was given to each child to take care. Now you ask to yourself, did you do it or not? I don't know, but you can think of yourself. Once you plant a small shrub or a tree, not in only college, at your home also, always promote the natural life, the trees, the plants, and maintain them. Just don't plant them and forget. They will grow by themselves. Like a small child needs care, a small plant also needs nurturing and care. Now, these things, so obviously, you people can include in your daily life, that using of less fuel, creating less pollution. You can always go for a energy efficient vehicles. So nowadays we have electric vehicles also available, and use quality fuels and avoid unnecessary driving. Just to get think and plan and then go out of your house, so that it minimizes the number of times you use your vehicles. And whenever possible, try walking instead of taking your vehicles. And walking means, you people are walking nowadays, I see walking like this. So walking means you should be careful also while walking. Try to use carpools or bike pooling. Two of you can share and come, so that way little bit contribution from your side in prevention of pollution. Then at you can limit the wastage generated at your own house. You prefer rechargeable batteries rather than one time use ones. You prefer products which is having minimum packaging. Some products have unnecessarily packed, and which needs protection needs to be packed, but everything need not have excessive packaging. Try to use the bags which can be reused, because as you see when you go to a shop also, if they don't keep bags, you think, oh, udhar nahi jana, they don't give us bags, we need to take. So in that way, you are discouraging that particular shopkeeper or to keep the bags. Okay, then he will think that the customers are not coming, so let me keep plastic bags. So try to carry your own bags always whenever you go out, and avoid using disposable items. Disposable item is this plastic spoons, the plates, the cups that we have. So avoid using disposable. Whenever possible, use the ones which you can wash and reuse. So what I was talking about excessive packaging is about this. I myself experienced once, got a memory card online, and the packaging it had was excess, a small memory card being packed in 2 3 packets. So avoid the things which are having excessive packagings. Just few images. Now at your home and workplace, you can be energy efficient. Means um, the food scraps, the waste of foods that you have, you can compost it at your own level instead of disposing them just like that. And in turn, use that as a compost to the plants that you have at home. And shift from inefficient light sources to more energy efficient sources. Then try to switch off or try to cut off the energy consumption when it is not required, and always try to have more natural light rather than artificial. So in these ways you can to some extent be energy efficient. These are some examples where you can reduce the usage of paper, because paper is very easily available, but how it is being made, many trees are being cut in order to make papers. So try to reduce, and as a result you can save some trees. And you can prefer which way you, because I observed this many times in the college, just putting a wrapper here and there because somebody is going to clean it. नहीं भी किया तो हमारा क्या है, हमारा घर थोड़ी है, हम थोड़ी यहाँ बैठने वाले हैं. Don't keep such attitudes. Always try to keep your surroundings clean, and everyone if thinks that way, then ultimately the entire place will be clean. So don't be a litter bug just because somebody is going to clean it. And what are the benefits? As I asked in the first slide, why should we do? Because after doing all this, what we get is we get a more cleaner air and water too. And the natural resources will be conserved. Landfills have a lesser waste. And we can save on our bills also. And the property values increase. What is meaning of increase in property value? If you go, suppose if you are going or looking out for property, you will not buy a barren land. You'll always look for a more greener place. So ultimately, if you go for pollution prevention, it leads to increase in the property value. So we should emphasize more on preventing pollution rather than controlling it. So in short, whatever we discussed can be made happen if we respect all the forms of life. So I hope you have understood the presentation and the topic that we discussed. So thank you, children, for your patient listening. That's all for today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Joycey ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, regarding their attendance.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have taken screenshot and I will send to Sarika, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very informative. Thank you so much.
Welcome.